You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Political Pulse Show. I'm your host, Larry Elise. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you're new. So it's been a slow news cycle the past couple of days, so I thought we'd go over some of the latest data that we had about the Trump transition and cover some of the other updates that are taking place and potentially some, I guess you would say, productive drama, if that is such a thing, that is taking place within the administration. But the one thing that we do know is that despite all the media gaslighting, they've lost their grip on the American people. They don't have the potential to sway public opinion, at least in terms of the mainstream media, the way that they used to have when Trump was first taking office. They got to dictate if Donald Trump is popular or not. Obviously, he wasn't when he entered office, with the lowest approval rating for our incoming president ever. And this time it's a little bit different. If you look at the approval of Donald Trump's transition so far, 53% of the nation approves, according to recent polling, and just 41.2% disapproves. And on top of it, there's new data that also shows he's the most favorable political leader in the country. We could break that down as well, and this is absolutely huge. And we're going to cover all this and more. But first, real quick, I got to tell you guys about our latest sponsor over at Birch Gold. Listen up. Are you tired of watching the government gamble with your hard-earned retirement savings? Inflation's out of control. The national debt keeps climbing, and foreign powers like BRICS and illegal immigration are pushing the U.S. dollar weaker and pushing the cost of everyday goods higher. Here's the kicker, though. During Trump's first term, gold prices skyrocketed. They doubled in value. That's right, gold doubled. What if it happens again? Are your retirement savings ready to handle what's coming? This is why you need Birch Gold. They're America's highest-rated precious metals IRA by Retirement Living, and they give you more metal for your money. Imagine converting your IRA or 401k into gold and silver, real physical wealth that you can count on no matter what. Don't wait until it's too late to take control of your future today. Use the link in the description today and check out Birch Gold today. And you can get your free investor's guide packed with the information you need to protect your retirement savings. You've worked too hard to leave your future up to chance. Just use the link in the description today and check them out. They did it in 2016, they did it in 2020, and they did again in 2024. A lot of people said it wouldn't happen. I said that in many cases they probably were. They were obviously, and on top of that, it's likely that the polls that are going to showcase his approval rating are also underestimating his support, and that we know the theme continues, even though the final electoral battle involving Donald Trump directly is in the rearview mirror. And when you look at that favorable rating, because people always want to talk about a mandate, who has the mandate? Obviously, you look at the Democrats. Joe Biden is sitting vastly underwater. He's down almost like 20 points. He's over 20 points in some of these polls in terms of his personal favorable rating. Donald Trump so far is breaking relatively even, 50-50. We know how trash Reuters is, so obviously, we know it's very likely he's actually in the green. He's not in the red. He's above water, which is absolutely huge. You didn't see that from anybody else. Not Harris, who is now somebody that's hopefully going to fade into the irrelevancy. Mike Johnson, he's underwater. People don't trust the Republicans in Congress nearly as much. You look at Jeff on the Democrat side, not only a lot of people know who he is, but still, he's underwater. Chuck Schumer, vastly underwater. Mitch McConnell, who represents like the old guard GOP to a good old boy, you look at him just at a 20.7 favorable rating. So it is true. Trump is somebody that obviously, because you are a president, you are somebody who's going to be a little bit polarizing in terms of your favorability rating. But when it comes down to the job approval, the approval of the transition, you see what the media is trying to do. They're trying to say, oh, people are regretting their votes now because they don't like who Trump's picking for the cabinet. But in reality, an overwhelming, I guess you would say, a majority of Americans, including some who didn't even vote for Trump, approve of how Donald Trump has handled his transition. And that's another dagger in the narrative. And there was a recent poll done by Red Eagle Politics asking people if they regret their vote, and 94% of Trump voters said they made the right choice, and only 93% of Harris voters said they made the right choice, and more Harris supporters compared to Trump supporters say they regret their vote. So that's a big dagger in the media narrative. They're trying to ramp up this big regret of Trump. They tried to do the same thing back in Trump's first term. it didn't work out so well. A lot of Trump voters, obviously, they stuck with him. He got more votes the next time around, not just in terms of raw votes, which he did so by 11 or 12 million, but also on top of that, he also got a higher percentage of the votes. And obviously, this time around, he got the highest percentage of all. He's growing stronger, and that's not really stopping. But it is also true that when you get a big movement, and you get a lot of newcomers to a movement, a political movement, you are going to have issues where people will, clash about certain topics, and that's okay. It's healthy. You see people like Elon Musk, people who were not part of Trump's coalition in 2016 or 2020, but still instrumental in helping out his 2024 coalition. He helped run the ground game up in the state of Pennsylvania. He spent a lot of money trying to get Donald Trump elected. Now Donald Trump has returned the favor by making him the head of the Department of Government Efficiency. And now he's going to be in Washington working to eliminate debt, and waste. He's had more of a tendency to be outspoken and lately has come out in favor of increasing the amount of H-1B visas, saying we need hundreds of thousands of engineers and all these people to come into the country saying, oh, it's only illegal immigration, which is the problem. And he's definitely kind of, I would say, causing like a mini civil war on the Trump side, but it's not really that big of a civil war. It's more of a productive conversation when people want to be productive about it. There are certain things that Elon has said and certain people like Vivek have said that have not exactly been all that productive, but the bottom line is that a majority of Americans, the highest level since 2001, which was directly after 9/11, want immigration levels reduced. Excuse me. A lot of them want immigration levels sharply reduced when you have, 20 million illegals in the country. Do we really need to be taking in, a million more Americans per year, trying to make it a priority to increase the number? Shouldn't we be training Americans for those jobs? There's plenty of Americans that could work those jobs that have STEM degrees. You're not just talking about, oh, there's job shortages. Oh, at the top 0.01% of engineering jobs, because you have visas for that. Or the O1 visas, and a lot of the recipients of those visas end up coming from other Western countries, more so than India and China, where a lot of the H-1B visa recipients end up coming from. But you look at this, and a lot of Americans want to curb immigration. Donald Trump, he's touted throughout his political career, back in 2016, he was on the debate stage. He clashed with Marco Rubio and said that he wanted to end the H-1B visa program and reduce H-1B visas so you didn't have Americans training their foreign replacements, because those people would come in because the companies lobbied for them to come in. They wanted them to come in so they can get away with paying them a lower wage and displacing the middle class. Just like you have a problem with low-skilled migration, you also have a problem with this. I guess you would say they call high-skilled migration as well. It should be cut across the board, to be honest. And that's really how we should run in America, or America First immigration. Obviously, if you do have shortages, then maybe you do take in some temporary, very high-skilled workers, that have come in on O1 visas, name it. If you want to severely cut H-1B visas and slightly increase the O1s, and I don't think a lot of people are necessarily going to have that much of a problem with it. But you have a lot of people that will come in and they will abuse the H-1B visa programs. And some of these jobs in this database had far below the usual $60,000 threshold. You had jobs for like pickleball instructor, for example. You have jobs that are for line cooks, basically making 20-some thousand a year that are in this database. You can't exactly have those. Can't exactly have that. Those are not high skilled. Not high-skilled immigrants. That's H-1B abuse, essentially. And a lot of these people come in, they use the system to become permanent residents and eventually citizens. You can't exactly have that happen. It's not like you're having a lot of these, 135 IQ, very top 0.01% of talent engineers come in. And it's not like they're making $250,000 a year. So the main takeaway is somebody like Elon Musk needs to understand that the original motive of the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, is to put American workers first, and there needs to be a conversation because there is this disconnect for anybody saying, well, this is proving that Donald Trump in his election is like some sort of failure. Like, no, I think it's the opposite. I think it's a very good thing that we're having these conversations. We wouldn't be having these conversations otherwise. We'd be having a conversation of, should we give 20 million of these illegals amnesty or 10 million of these illegal amnesty? Excuse me. And Kamala Harris ended up winning the election, obviously this wouldn't even be a question. there wouldn't be any talk about lowering H-1Bs or whatever. But now you're seeing a lot of people become vocal about it in the MAGA movement, and the center of gravity is shifting. And Elon Musk, slowly but surely. I hope he does come to the table on this and understand where the average voter does sit, because he is somebody that can be, in my opinion, reachable, receptive, and that's not necessarily Trump's position. Trump is even more, in my opinion, in touch with the base. He understands what the base wants. So hopefully we can keep the pressure up, and Donald Trump himself is not going to toad with Elon on this, especially because the election is over. Donald Trump doesn't really owe Elon anything other than what his job at the agency, which doesn't really have anything to do with immigration as a whole. But either way, you're seeing Donald Trump become more popular. And it's a very good thing. You're seeing these discussions be held. You're seeing the Overton window shift and shift in the direction it needs to be shifted. I think overall it's a very good thing. So we got to keep up the pressure on this and make sure that we make it clear that there's nothing wrong with opposing these visa programs, because they do tend to be abused. They do tend to lead to mass immigration, and it's not in the best interest of the American people. So anyways, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you guys like this video down below. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video.